Welcome everyone to IAG's new regular interview series, Trade Talk. I'm Ben Blaschke, Managing Editor of Insider Asian Gaming, and joining me today, I'm very pleased to introduce Ilya Machavariani, Partner and CEO of 4H Agency. Ilya, how are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Thanks, Ben. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to talk today about the draft sports betting regulations in Russia at the moment. Can we start by having a bit of a look back at the current, or the legalized sports betting industry in Russia and where it's at the moment?
Sure. Sports betting is one of two verticals that is basically allowed to be conducted online in Russia, because all other verticals such as casino and poker, slots, they are forbidden for online usage, and therefore sports betting is one of the main gambling verticals in Russia at all. And online sports betting exists in Russia since 2013. And right now we have at around 30 licenses issued, with all of them being mostly local. We of course have BVIN in our roster of licenses in Russia, but this BVIN is managed by local staff and local personnel, so it's more of a local nature. Speaking about the regulation itself, I think that Russian regulations is the most complex and the most bizarre that I have ever seen in my career, honestly, because Russia, I think that Russian legislation have the same flaw that, for instance, certain African countries have as well. And this flaw is that the legislation that is in place for the regulation of gambling is basically was created a while ago, and this legislation absolutely does not cover and does not know about the more modern approaches to regulating gambling that exists in the European Union, in the UK, in the States, and in other well-developed countries. However, the good thing is that we have the regulated online part, as I told, since 2013. But this regulated online part is regulated in the way that I would wish that it has not been regulated at all, because it's really complicated. And I don't think that I always say all my clients who are interested in Russia that Russia is not another country in your list of licenses. It's a separate project, it's a separate team, and you need to be fully dedicated to Russia if you're really looking forward to succeeding in this country. So I think that the best outlook of legalized sports betting would be that it's really challenging, but in the same time rewarding. Obviously, because of the volumes of the market, because of the size of the country, because of the relatively good internet penetration levels, because of generally, relatively rich people in Russia, and of course, because again of the population in the country.
So we know there's a draft federal law currently being put through, setting the stage for a bit of a revamp of the industry. I guess what you're talking about there is evidence that this is pretty important to happen.
Yes, this is correct. But the story with the draft law, actually, this draft law is already adopted, and it was signed by the president of Russia on 30 December. And published on 30 December, so we're already living in a new reality. And unfortunately, I wouldn't say that this draft law or this amendment, since they're already since they're already adopted, I wouldn't say that these amendments concern all the flaws that I was having in mind when I was telling about the complicated market in Russia, because I think that the reason for this draft law, and generally the main direction of change that this draft law proposed, is to ensure that Russian government would receive more revenues from gambling industry. And this is, I think that this is the core idea that was behind all of the changes in Russian gambling in 2020. Because we had at least two changes. The first one happened in July, and the gambling law was amended, and these amendments concerned types of events that are allowed for wagering. and all these events were limited to only sports events, both Russian and international ones. And the second amendment of gambling law happened on 30 December, and this amendment basically, again, as I already told you, it was based on the idea that government would like to receive more revenues, but in the same time, this amendment, this draft law was trying to deal with the complicated structure of Russian sports betting market. If I don't mind, I will tell you a little bit about it. As I already mentioned, there are 30 licenses at around, and these 30 licenses are divided between two. And now now the story will go really interesting, because there will be a lot of unknown words and a lot of unfamiliar concepts, but these are Russian gambling, so get prepared. All these licenses, all these operators are divided between two self-regulated organizations, the idea of which is to act as an intermediary between the Russian sports betting operators and the government. To add to that, these self-regulated organizations were intended to hold the compensation fund, to which each and every operator should basically send money. And this compensation fund within the self-regulated organizations is one of the measures of player protection in Russia. Draft law proposed, and since it's already adopted, it's already in place and it will happen. Draft law proposed to disband all the self-regulated organizations, to disband these existing two pieces, financial intermediaries, and establish a unified gambling regulator of sorts. I'm still not sure what is going to be, because it's really important to explain here, because when people not from Russia or not from post-Soviet countries hear this unified gambling regulator words, they immediately thinking about that this is going to be some sort of UKGC or MGA or something like that. But I really need to explain here that this is not the case, because this unified gambling regulator is going to be a separate legal entity. It's not going to be a state body, but it's going to be state-owned legal entity that would be additional to the existing government authorities already regulating the industry, Ministry of Finance of Russia and the Revenue Tax Service of Russia. So we're going to have like threefold structure of regulators: Ministry of Finance, Revenue Tax Service, and this unified gambling regulator. And in addition to this unified gambling regulator, this draft law proposes to create unified SUPIs, so another financial intermediary, but with new owners, obviously, and it's going to be unified. And the idea of this unified gambling regulator and unified SUPIs is to streamline the process of gathering government revenues from the industry. Right now, because of this twofold structure of two self-regulated organizations and two pieces, Russian market is really sharply polarized. And there are constant conflicts between one self-regulated organization and another self-regulated organization. Well, it is an exaggeration to name these conflicts, but nevertheless, the relationships are not smooth, if you know what I mean. And it seems to me that this situation concerned Russian government in such a way that, well, obviously, gambling and sports betting in particular is a very profitable industries if you're doing it right, especially in Russia. And since these sports betting operators are doing this much money, Russian government and Russian authorities anticipated that there would be no, additional hassle from the industry. And nevertheless, this hassle was in place, and it seems to me that the second idea of this draft law was to ensure that the structure of the market would allow for the Russian sports betting operator to closely collaborate with each other and finally create a united industry without having 3 or 4 key players, key speakers, without united position on various issues and stuff.
Well, just before I let you go, Ilya, if we had a streamlined, well-regulated Russian sports betting industry. How big could that market be?
Oh, well, it's really hard for me to say at this point because actually the whole story with this draft law is really interesting for me because being the guy between sometimes acting as a bridge between more Western world and post-Soviet world, it's really interesting. I have a really interesting view on the situation because I'm a little bit higher than everyone in Russia here because I work in many countries, and I see that uh, all operators in Russia and all, well, people who are somewhat related to gambling in Russia, uh, they have one unified opinion on this draft law, that this draft law is really bad. And it's bad for the industry. The consequences would be really negative. And again, it's terrible. It's a nightmare. So this is the position of Russian sports betting operators. In the same time, when I'm speaking with people not from Russia and obviously from our industry, I see that these people have some, I wouldn't say, I dare to say, hope on the Russian market when they read the news and they read the law. They see, well, it's a good changes, and it should lead to a more up to date market. It should help international operators to consider this market and so on. And honestly, I'm still not sure on which side I'm on here, because on the one side, obviously, I agree that the structure of Russian market that was in place before this draft law is chaotic, and obviously it doesn't allow for the industry to grow rapidly, and it's holding it back. But in the same time, I'm not sure that this unified gambling regulator could really help here, because there are a lot of other problems and other flaws in the legislation and the structure of the market that should be changed. And I don't think, and if I were to choose between, for instance, changing the existing flaws in the legislation or creating a unified gambling regulator and all in all, I would choose the first option, because again, the existing legislation is already holding back the business, and I don't think that new pieces of legislation could help. We need to work with old pieces rather than introduce new one. But in any case, there is a light in the end of tunnel, if I may say so here, because one of the objectives of this unified gambling regulator is to review and modify Russian gambling legislation. So maybe, just maybe, because it would depend on the people who will form part of this unified gambling regulator, this new regulatory body would be able to identify and to rectify these flaws that I have in mind.
Well, I guess time will tell, Ilya. So
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
Thanks for your time. It's been great to speak to you, and hope to chat to you again soon.
Absolutely, Ben. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.